Hello and welcome to the LRM podcast, sponsored by Adrian Flux Insurance. I'm Martin Domoney.
And I'm Steve Miller.
And today we've got Tom Barnard with us, LRM's own market expert. How you doing, Tom?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great to have you here. I'm sure most listeners will know you from the magazine, your column that you do every month on auctions, buying, trends in values, things like that. So yeah, really excited to have you here.
Great, it's lovely to be here.
Should we kick off with a listener's question?
Is it about buying Land Rovers?
Well, as it happens, it is.
Oh, good.
Jamie Robinson has got in touch and he says, I've been left a bit of money and I want to invest it in a vehicle.
Okay, I think I know where this is going.
What? He's got 10,000 quid. He wants to know, based on sort of things that happened recently, what should he buy? And he's not just limited to, he's got space, so he can buy more than one Land Rover if he wants to. Otherwise, he can, use your imagination. But he's got room for more than one, so if he wants more than one, he can have more than one. So,
so 2 for £5,000.
Yeah, if you want to go down that route.
Okay.
Or,
but in investment. So, yeah.
Something he can use, though, he says he often goes, his wife's got horses and things like that, so she wants to go to the odd event. So if one of the two or the only one he buys can be used for that occasionally, then happy days.
Such an easy answer. But we'll ask Tom, he's our guest, to answer first.
I would have a 322 Range Rover. Get one of the very nice ones, under 100,000 miles, and keep it under 100,000 miles if you can, in a nice spec with lots of history, and you'll never lose money on that. They're going up fast.
One of the last ones?
One of the last ones, yeah. Well, it doesn't actually matter, really. I mean, the early ones, the diesels aren't great, and the petrols were... But if you get one of the last 4.4s, I would say, or a 3.6.
Ah, right, okay. So basically, any TDV8 is a safe bet.
Any TDV8 is so you'd have to be quite careful with your spec, I suppose. Anything dark colour, a little bit rare, light interior. I mean, there is the kind of the Queen and Clarkson spec, which is that green with tan leather with clear glass for some reason. I don't know why, but lots of people like it. And those are worth proper money now if they've got below 100,000 miles.
Wow.
Really interesting, because I would have never have thought the words L322 and investment belong in the same sentence.
Steve's berated me in the past when I've got excited about late facelifts for 5 litre supercharged for 5,000 quid.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What a thing to float around in.
And they're one of those cars where there are traders now who are picking them up, doing the work that might need doing on them.
Will need doing on them.
Yeah. And then putting them out for like 20 grand. And you'll see, you go on Auto Trader and look for priciest first up to 2012 Range Rover. And they're the ones that are £40,000 if they're the right spec.
Wow. You wouldn't have thought it, would you?
But what would he get for £10,000 though?
Oh, you would get, you'd get to like...
honest here.
If you bought carefully, you'd get a nice late Westminster with below 100,000 miles.
Okay.
There's one going through the Anglia car auctions this weekend, so I think it will probably where is it next week?
Next weekend, because I'll get into it.
Yeah, and there's an early 322 in there which has 3,600 miles on it, and I'm like,
oh wow!
Right, Tom, that sounds like a day, man. We need to go down.
Yeah, I need to go there.
Yeah,
go and have a
Martin, are you free on that Saturday?
Yeah, we're going to go, aren't we?
Yeah, you're definitely going to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just got to make sure I don't buy anything because I'm going to get a divorce on this.
I know.
No, if you bought that though, you've just heard it from the horse.
Oh, well, Tom said, right,
investment,
Tom said it's an investment. Hang on, what about our listener? It should be up for him, really.
It should be, yeah. L322 though, I like them. I think they're great, and I remember vividly. Again, harking back to when I worked in a main dealer, we used to look after two. I think they were Galway green, really, really late cars with like cream tan interior, both 5 litre supercharged. I think they belonged to one of the studs or something around Newmarket Way. Oh, just such lovely cars to drive, and they just, in my mind, that was the last Range Rover to have a proper Range Rover shape before it went a bit blobby.
We followed one on the way in, didn't we? Today, an Overfinch L322.
I was going to say that was all. It was a proper Overfinch, wasn't it? All the body kit and the Overfinch wheels.
Like it.
But I would say that the standard ones, like you, Tom, just
Clark,
said, with
Clark's spec.
Yeah, with a good colour and interior combination, have aged far better than the aftermarket sort of tuned ones.
See, for an investment, right, I would never have said L322. I would probably remain quite safe and go for 110 300 TDI.
Yeah.
Station wagon.
Okay.
You'd need to do a bit, but I don't think you'd lose money at that level, 10,000 quid. I don't think buying 2 Land Rovers is an investment.
I'm trying to think actually of two. Actually, I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say 4.6 HSE P38 and early pre-facelift Discovery 2. I reckon those early Disco 2s are going to go up soon.
Yeah. Well, I had a quick look on Auto Trader the other yesterday and day before, because with you, obviously, you were coming in. Just have a look at prices, and yes, they are all over the place. But yeah, people are recognising those early Discovery 2s now.
There was one. I'm ruining my next column here, but there was one that went through British car auctions the other day. Discovery 2. It was nice, but 56,000 miles. Wasn't immaculate by any stretch, but 56,000 miles with history. Went for 10.5 grand in British car auctions. That's not a classic car auction, and I'm like, whoa,
That's strong money.
that is strong. I mean, if that's a dealer, what's he going to put it up for?
Yeah.
12, 13?
More, I would think.
You do get, there's a couple of dealers in the country, isn't there, who specialise in low mileage classic stuff, and you go on their website and you think, really, are people really paying these prices? But
if
maybe they are.
If the right person came along and that's the best that they could get for that money, or the car they missed out on back in their day.
I think those Discoveries as well, there's still that mindset that they don't want a Discovery 3 because they think it's complicated. So they will wear out their Discovery 2 and then just buy the best Discovery 2 they can.
That's absolutely, something you do hear quite a lot. And you see advice given and taken by people who say, oh, no, you don't want to touch one of those independently sprung Discoveries. They're a nightmare. So you go and buy a absolute rot box of a leaky Disco 2 instead, because that's a much better idea. But, I think, and late P38s as well. The last Anglia car auction I was at, there was a Holland and Holland, a really, really rough one with mega mileage. Like, most of the important bits seemed to either be damaged or missing, and it still made about 6.5 grand, I think.
There's a Holland at the next one as well, have you seen?
Oh, is there?
Oh, don't look.
I'm not looking at the
Very
catalogue.
pretty.
Well, we're going. So
I'm going to
big blindfold.
get Steve a bidding number and bully him.
Well, no, just don't. I don't want that to happen.
Okay. So I've chucked in my... What do you reckon then, Steve? Oh, you've got...
110, 300 TDI, station wagon.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of usable. You've got horses, so it's going to be doing some rough work. Don't forget.
True. Yeah, I suppose that is a danger with...
So, really, if you would use it, and the mileage isn't that much of a problem on the 300 TDI either. So if it's got 100,000 or 150,000, it makes a little difference.
That's
For
true.
its value.
I suppose the danger you'd have with anything with any sort of carpet or nice upholstery in it is if you had a other half that was into horses, it would be very quickly ruined.
Yeah.
It depends how far you're going with the horses, though. If you're going to the next field, it's not that much of a problem with 300 TDI, but it might be a bit tiresome.
But if it's towing, say, eventing or something, and you're going around the country, L322.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Set of all-terrains on it, and you're basically...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically Clarkson spec, yet again.
Yeah, it is, actually, isn't it?
So Clarkson spec. Actually, I'm leaning towards Tom's idea.
I'm always right.
Yeah, he's always right.
Tune on it. L322s, you're like the most anti.
I know I'm not anti. No.
Just ones that I'm...
Do you know what I'm not anti about? Do you know why I'm not anti any Land Rover or Range Rover at the moment? It's I've questioned why I have a TD5 Defender this week.
Why?
Well, exactly. Why? I'm using it less and less. And you just think to yourself, because I'm like an old man before my time, my back is killing.
I wouldn't say it's before your time.
Yeah. And I just think, I'm 6'3". They're not comfortable. I'm always going here, there, and everywhere, further afield than I am local. And I just think, what else could I own that was a Land Rover that isn't a 90?
For some background, Steve's 90 is a county hardtop, isn't it? But it has...
It's not even a county. It's a farm spec.
Oh, no, it's not county.
No.
But it's got into posh bulk of counties.
Steve sat over there and is shuffled like he isn't posh. But anyway,
it's not posh.
It's got a...
Anyone listening to this will know I'm not posh.
It's got a centre bulkhead, so you've got that limitation on the seat.
I don't like cutting things out, though.
No, I don't think I would have.
See, I wouldn't cut that bulkhead out to make it more comfortable for me.
Yeah.
'Cause it then takes it away from...
I agree with you. I do agree.
I don't drill holes in bodywork for checker plate, and I don't cut panels out. Called me old-fashioned, but...
My initial reaction was Discovery 4.
Well, you had a Discovery.
I had a Discovery 4, and it was
not long after I bought a Discovery 3 because you went to the same garage as me.
I did, yeah, Woodside Garage, and
Good cars.
yeah, it was good. Well, I went to go look at a 322, strangely enough, but it wasn't a very nice 322. It had chrome bits on, and he had that just come in, still dirty, this Discovery 4 in Aintree Green, and I was like, oh, I quite like that, and I needed a car because my other car had expired. And so it was kind of inevitable. And he said, "Oh," and I was worried about the snapped crankshaft.
So we were working in the same office, then, weren't we?
Mm.
Up at Thurline, Palmer Sport Racing in Bedford.
Yeah.
And we used to get. Do you remember our conversations most mornings for about half an hour? We would just run stupid ideas against each other. What about this? And you were like, "Oh, I don't know.
Mm.
Discovery 4, don't know what to do." So I just buy it, and you did.
I did, yeah, but I was worried about the snap crank, and I looked in the service book, and I don't know if the guy at Woodside had, and it had an invoice for £16,000 for a new engine, which had been done under warranty when the previous owner had bought it from a Land Rover dealer, used as an approved used car, and the crank had snapped. So it was, I think it had like 76,000 miles in it, a 16,000 mile engine, and I'm like, I'll just hide that service book and go in and haggle.
And then bid him hard.
Yeah.
He wouldn't take much off his prices.
I think he threw in some Pirelli Scorpions, which I was quite insistent on because it had some ditch finder on the front. And it was a great car. The problem was I didn't use it enough. And then I thought, well, I've got another car to use this month, so I'll just put it on Sawn because then I'm saving myself £70 a month in tax. So then the missus says, oh, we need 6 seats, or we need to tow something, or we need to carry that. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to tax it this month, and that's going to cost me £70.
Yeah.
And then it sits there,
and
then you take it for an MOT, and things have seized because you're not using those cars. All those kind of air-sprung cars need using all the time. And then I think they're pretty reliable.
Except with my Discovery 3, I was doing 20,000 miles a year. So I had cost implications at the other end of the scale where things were wearing out. So it was, and I still think back to owning a Discovery 3 and think it was the best motoring I've ever done, but equally the most expensive. So I would be scared. I mean, scared is, no underestimation to own something like that again. But I thought the last of the line Discovery 4s, in my mind, they were still 30 grand, but they're not.
Not now.
No. I always think I've been in touch with the market. And I went on to Auto Trader. 15, 16, 20,000 would be like real top end.
Yeah.
The last one that sticks in my mind was actually on the way here. A few months, that must have been 6 months to a year ago, I would say. And it was a Corus Grey 15 plate Landmark. And it was for sale at a garage that I pass on the way here. And it was 24,995, and I thought, I obviously didn't stop and look around it, but I thought, wow, that's a stunning car for that money. Now that's probably £5,000 less than it was then.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on because they're an incredible amount of vehicle for the money. And like you said, like every time you talk of your Disco 3, it's always fond. Apart from paying £1,000 every time it went in the garage.
No, well, yeah, but I didn't know you then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see, so that my thought process is, what's the worst could happen? It's a crankshaft, isn't it, with the Discovery 4? But most, like we said, we touched on this last week or a couple of podcasts ago, most actual daily normal people then, non-car folk, don't know the intricacies of a car, do they? They don't actually research the fact that the crankshafts snap. They don't research Ingeniboom engines. They don't. They just drive them. They buy them because they want one.
Yeah.
And my concern is, we know too much.
Yeah.
And that puts you off most things.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was the Ingenium's the one that sprung to mind that we spoke about the other week.
With Ed Evans, wasn't it? Two podcasts ago?
You get these people who want to get into a Land Rover product, either Discovery Sport or Evoque or whatever, and they don't spend hours trawling the internet finding out what goes wrong. They just go, oh, I like the colour. It's got leather and aircon and this, that and the other. And they buy it. They're none the wiser. And ignorance is bliss in that case until it obviously chucks its chain out or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe we are too anal about these things.
Careful.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're on a poultry magazine salary, so, get the violins out now. But owning a Discovery 4, I think, is probably the ultimate car, isn't it? Land Rover mate. You look at Discovery, Tom, you'll look at the Discovery 5 prices now. I noticed that they were getting
soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, again, like we were talking with the Discovery 2, that people who don't want Discovery 5s will look for the best Discovery 4. So the very low mileage ones, or 60,000 miles, Euro 6, so you can go to the ULEZ zone and you don't have the expensive road tax. They're the ones that are worth proper money in a nice spec.
Yeah. What's that spec? Graphite. I've seen a lot of graphites.
They did a few run-outs on the Disco 4. They did Landmark. They did Graphite, which was silver with like an anthracite wheel, I think.
Yeah, I've seen the wheels on that. It looks amazing.
And the XXV, I believe they did as well. They're the three that spring to mind. But yeah, any late Disco...
Lux, is it?
HSE Lux was a trim level.
Yes, yeah Lux.
I always say if I even had a modest lotto win, I'd have a Discovery 4. A real late one as a daily, because they're just so lovely. Yeah. All day long. But, almost you've had like similar vehicles but opposite problems then. Tom's didn't get used enough and it had a fit, and yours got used too much and had a fit.
Yeah, I was doing 20,000 miles a year, and I owned the car for 2.5 years. But I can't remember how much I spent, but I wrote about it in the magazine, and it was eye-watering. Eye-watering amount of money.
I think that's if you can find the perfect used car, it's somebody who spent an absolute fortune having everything done and has then said, oh, this car's costing me too much money, I'm going to get rid. And then you get a car which has had everything done on it.
Which is basically, my Discovery 3 was at that point, and so was my Freelander 2. I sold an exceptional Freelander 2 because I'd done all the work on it. But then I'd got to that point, thought, I can't live with this anymore. Perhaps I just bought the wrong car twice. No, my Discovery 3, no, it wasn't. I love that car.
It's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. It's when do you say enough is enough, and then your loss is someone else's gain. But it's better to be doing that than to keep piling money in and still not being happy. Because you reckon the gearbox was never quite right on your Freelander, did you?
On the Freelander 2, no. The gear change was horrendous. It was never smooth. And it had an oil change, it had everything done to it. Just couldn't. Plugged in. No, nothing.
Funny one, isn't it?
So, Tom, Land Rover history for yourself. What are we?
Well, the first car I drove was a Land Rover, and it's still on the road, apparently. I don't know where it is. 6331UR. It's a Series 2A recovery truck, but I drove around the field and it had no brakes. I'm curious to know where it is. If anybody knows, let me know.
Still going around the field, probably.
Probably, yeah.
It's the next generation just going, oh, that's my first one.
But I stalk it on the internet occasionally, and it's still out there. It's still taxed. So,
yeah.
And then I had Series 1. Then I went to the extreme of Range Rover Classic, and then a 2A, and my 1984 90 County station wagon, which I bought from the classifieds of LRM.
I was actually going to touch on that quickly because
6-7 years ago.
You had a hand in that, didn't you?
Basically, I wanted to spend somebody else's money, and I said, Tom, you ought to buy that one there, because if you don't, I will. And you did.
Yeah.
But that's quite a funny story, wasn't it? Because at the time you were doing some freelance work for Evo magazine.
Yeah, Evo and Auto Express. And I just kind of passed by the in tray for the classified. Ooh.
Yeah.
That looks nice.
It was, because I'd not long got my early... I reckon you'll copy of me now. Because I had an early 90.
You're my hero.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. I needed to say that.
I want to be you when I grow up.
Yeah. But you did though, mate. Because I had the early 90, and it kind of like we were obsessing about originality, and then that 90 came up. I thought, oh, I want that. And the guy was just, was he retiring or something from owning it? Yeah, something. And sort of said, but you went and looked at it in a press card, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I borrowed a car from Eva and said I need to go and look at this car, and it was a McLaren, which kind of put my haggling on the wrong foot. And the guy was a bit offish at first, but then he came round and I said, "Look, it's not my car. I just borrowed it." And I was offering him the asking price anyway. And
you couldn't not really, because we kind of, in that instance, we intercepted the classifieds.
Yeah.
You have to give what he's asking.
Yeah. And it's lovely. It's very original. It's got 55, maybe 56,000 miles on it now. 1984. It's a 2.5 petrol. Should have been a 2.25, but it had a replacement engine in the first 3 months.
Oh wow!
So it sounds like just
yeah. I just wondered if the bloke thought this is too slow with 2.25.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what the reason was for that. Wonder if it had a failure or whether they just thought, oh, I quite like that extra quarter of a litre, that'll make a difference.
Yeah, but that's that was a 5-bearing crank engine, was it? A 2.5 petrol.
Yeah, but the late 2.25 would have been 5.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Perhaps that's because I only ever had early 2.25s.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I love it because it's got servo brakes and power steering, and I'm a girl, and I can't be doing all that classic stuff anymore. And a 5-speed box, so you can take it on longer journeys. The Series 1, say, oh, let's go to a show. It's like, oh, is it more than a mile away?
It's on the village green. We're coming.
And the family wouldn't get in it. And
yeah, cool.
So, it's perfect for that, and it does all the things that Land Rovers need to do, and it's also a nice original classic type thing. It's still a sense of occasion when you drive it.
Yeah, I completely get that. Having seen the your Writers Rovers in the magazine in the last few months, it does look absolutely stunning. I'm quite green with envy over your 90. It's so rare to see one that original.
And it's not very shiny either, which I decided I quite like, because it's my anti-theft measure, is that if there's...
Make it look too good.
Make it look too good. It's not going to be... Nobody's going to nick the doors because they're scruffy. I don't worry about it getting scratched, and I've invested a lot of money in it. And it's the original paint and things, which I think is quite important on these.
They're only original once, aren't they? That's the thing. The minute you touch it with resprays and things like that, it's difficult, which is why I'm not precious about my Series 3, because it's so far from standard anyway. I'm not really that bothered that I've tied it up.
Same for me with my unfinished project. If you've listened to it, Tom, you no doubt listen to podcasts. Every single time.
I've got this horrible habit of beating me to taking the
yeah.
That now. It's quite upsetting, really.
But that's no longer original. It wasn't when I bought it. It looked fairly original, but it wasn't. It'd been redone with the wrong colour blue, and so there's plenty of them around. There's plenty of originals around. That's a great investment. You talk about investments for our listener. It would have been a fantastic investment.
Actually, early coil sprung, they're definitely on the up.
Pre Defender name, but yeah, definitely.
Especially with the more unusual engine options, because a lot of them have got TDI swapped in, obviously. Years gone by, people pull them out of a Classic or a Discovery. If you can find one with the standard 2.25 petrol or even diesel, or 2.5 petrol or diesel, then jump on them. Even the 19J, really. If you use it,
possibly a film now. 19J. Oh, no.
Quite a sweet engine when they're working properly. The trouble is they very rarely work properly.
Yeah, there's a lot of investment, but yeah. Anyway.
So, what's your take on... So you got rid of the Discovery 4 because you weren't using it enough, but if you were to own a sort of current Land Rover, what would your choice be, do you think? Not so much from a value point of view, but what would you go for out of preference?
Well, I think the Defender, the new Defender, I don't know what the technical bits underneath look like, but it feels very much like a Discovery 4 to me, with a spare wheel on the back. And if you see the two of them parked together, I parked my Discovery 4 next to a new Defender when I had it. It's like, hang on a minute, that windscreen and that window line and the height and everything else look identical. So I'm not sure if they are underneath. I'm not sure how much is carried over. But if you drive a new Defender, you go, this feels like a Discovery 4.
Lots of people do say that the new Defender should have been the new Discovery, don't they?
They do. That's either because they're bitter about the fact that Land Rover have called it the Defender and they think that anything that doesn't have beam axles and coil springs shouldn't be called Defender, or it's because people who didn't like the look of the Discovery 5, who were coming out of a Discovery 4, for similar money, they went, well, why would I buy a Discovery 5, which is a bit Marmite styling-wise, when I could have a new Defender?
Tom, have you ever driven a Grenadier?
Yes. And strange enough, everybody told me it's rubbish. And I got in and thought, well, this is all right. And it's the guy who was demonstrating this car to me, he said, have you got Defender? I said, well, I've got a 90. It's not. And he went, oh, yeah.
He's like glazing over right then because he just probably thinks anything from 1948 is a Defender. Yeah.
And it just, which is what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a modern interpretation of a classic Defender, isn't it? So it's got the vague steering. It's got the windscreen wipers that don't, stop there and don't wipe half the screen. And it's over there. And it's got big clunky switches and things. And it felt like a modern fit. So I liked it. But I can see why people wouldn't.
I think it depends when you drive a Grenadier as to what you've just got out of. Because I just got out of my TD590 when I drove a Grenadier and I thought, wow, this is amazing. But then when I drove one again, I forget what I hadn't got out of a TD5 Defender, so it didn't feel as good anymore. But it takes a while to get used to things like that.
Yeah, I can't remember when it was. It would have been last summer, I think. I had a Grenadier on test for a while, and it was the petrol one, which is kind of interesting. But I remember thinking I really liked it, and it felt solid, and it felt like, basically, I think they fulfilled what they set out to achieve. But I do remember thinking there's 2 or 3 things about this that would really annoy me if I'd spent 60 or 70 grand on one. And I don't think I could see past that in favour of the new Defender. Basically, I think it's a great thing. And if you're doing real hard work in punishing terrain, you need something that's powered by, got loads of grunt, but also proper transfer box locking diff. So I don't think you'd really go far wrong. But if you had a stack of cash and you had to buy one or the other, it'd be new Defender for me. From a all-rounder, driving refinement and comfort and all the other stuff, I don't think I could knowingly part with that much cash for something that had, like I say, it wasn't a lot of things, but they were enough things to make you.
Yeah, I think I agree.
But I was looking at new Defender used prices the other day, and they, whilst they've calmed down, they haven't calmed down enough to. They're not in the hands of a traditional Land Rover enthusiast yet, are they? When I say traditional enthusiast, I mean me.
Yeah.
Basically, all people. I can't afford one, and that's it. But when I know when I can, they will say if you can't afford to buy it new, you can't afford to run it second hand. Probably true, isn't it? For premium cars, definitely.
I think for that sort of thing where you can't get the spanners out yourself, it's going to be an expensive car to run, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas, I think most of the stuff that we run and most of the listeners do is going to be things where we're all right to maybe not take an engine out and rebuild it with a crank snap, but you can do a suspension arm or you can do your service yourself, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could.
Everyone's got different capabilities, and that's what we try and focus on in the tech section of Land Rover Monthly is, not everyone is going to rip an engine out and have a crack at fixing it or rebuilding it. But I don't know. I think there's a few people I've seen online and a few people I sort of know personally who picked up a new Defender and they either instantly took a green laning or they had the back bumper off it to fit bigger recovery points and things like that. In fact, we covered a series of upgrades made by Terra Firma when they first launched them in the magazine on a new shape 90, which was pretty cool. And we did the step-by-step guide. So they can be worked on at home if you're not going into the depths of the electronics where you need the diagnostic dealer-level software, in which case, leave well alone because you'll end up causing an issue. But the nuts and bolts stuff, when it's all in front of you, it is nuts and bolts. There's just a lot of them.
All that kind of software, it tumbles down, doesn't it? So I remember, Discovery 3, people are like, oh, you can't do anything with this. And now, you look on the forum and someone will tell you how to do it.
That's the thing. It's the aftermarket experts that really get to grips with them and work out the shortcuts. And
and the companies who make bits for air suspension and you can buy refurb kits rather than spending £1,000 on a new pump or whatever it is.
What you said earlier actually reminded me when I last owned a Disco 3. I bought it very, very cheaply off a family who was sick of spending money on it, and it needed a front. Amongst other things, it needed a front air strut because it would go down overnight. And I got one off a local breaker because it was too tight to buy a new one.
You being too tight to buy anything?
Hard to believe.
We were talking about that on the way here.
We'll get onto that. I got a bone to pick with you. Right.
A question to ask Tom.
Yeah, the most important question you'll be asked today, Tom. All right, so gear up. When I took the old strut off, this was an 05 plate car. It still had 2004 date code on the original strut, and it had done 202,000 miles.
God.
So it does show that if they're used, they last.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, it doesn't seem to the same extent, like the P38s and Disco 2s, where the bags would just split every 5 to 7 years. And even though they do that, they're a rubber item, they're perishable, they shouldn't be treated in that manner, not like, it's not the end of the world if one starts leaking. Just, like you said, they're complex cars and they need to be treated that way.
Find a decent specialist and...
Well, I found one. Yeah, this sits right next to you. So I'm not as scared by discovering 4 and safer than knowledge that Martin might help me.
Anyway, Tom.
Before you ask that question, and we've just been talking about buying Land Rovers, I think it's probably good time to hear a message from our sponsors.
That's very true.
We're proud to partner with Adrian Flux, an insurance broker that specialises in covering all types of Land Rovers, including classic, ex-military, modified and Q-plated models. Adrian Flux offers a range of optional extras to make the policy your own and can provide cover for off-roading, green laning, agreed value and build-up cover. Plus, they even offer a discount of up to 15% for Owners Club members. Simply search Adrian Flux Land Rover Insurance for more information or call them directly on 0344 728 0417 for a quote.
Right, so Tom, this is probably the oddest question you're going to get asked today, but in my mind it's the most important because I think it's the sign of an absolute psychopath. But if you've got lunch and you've got a sandwich and you've got crisps, what do you eat
meal
first?
deal. Yeah.
Probably the crisps, actually.
Yes. 100%. All of the crisps, and then you move on to your sandwich.
I might leave some of the crisps as kind of or maybe put the crisps in the sandwich.
Well, now you're getting all of it. Yeah, but...
I believe my ears.
So it's not unnormal.
It's like McDonald's.
Right.
With a meal deal.
Right, go on then.
Go on, please. Elaborate, Tom.
The fries are there, and you've got to unwrap that. And you pick at the fries, and then you keep picking at the fries, and you keep picking at the fries, and then you find you finish the fries before you've had your burger.
Right, I'm going to shake Tom's hand right now because it's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's just as if you were in the car with us, which incidentally Tom wasn't. We had a meal deal on the way here from Tesco, and I ate all my crisps, and he thought I was the most odd person he's ever met.
You both belong on a Netflix documentary.
No, you just said we're psychopaths.
You are psychopaths.
And I said, if you ever have a McDonald's and you have your fries, I eat all of them first before. And he goes, what?
You're wrong.
No. Well, I think you'll find your help voted.
Right. Okay. Editorial at LRM.co.uk. If you eat your sandwich properly before your crisps for the meal deal, please let me know because I feel outnumbered and I'm scared for my life.
Yeah. And equally, those who want to join forces with me and Tom.
What crisps are Paprika Max?
That's Paprika Max.
Are you one of these people who has the smoothie, the innocent smoothie and the Paprika Max and then the most expensive sandwich because it's the best value overall?
Well, no, actually, I don't always choose the crisp option because sometimes, you found one, haven't you, on the Sainsbury's, you get a sausage roll as your snack.
I know.
So he has a sandwich.
No, I don't. You brought that to my attention. This is next level value.
I never actually did that.
If you're really hungry, a sandwich and a sausage roll, that'll keep you going until dinner time.
Yeah.
Did you eat a sausage roll before your sandwich?
I very rarely get that combination.
I've seen you eat enough.
There's those strange little chicken kebab things as well, which are part of the the snack menu, which looked like somebody's chewed up some chicken and then squished it.
No, somebody has chewed up.
That stuff was once in the same factory as a chicken, isn't it? Actually got
That's like recongealed, or whatever you call it, or congealed chicken dust.
Let's go back to McDonald's quickly. Right, you've got your... Oh, gosh.
Hang on, yeah.
UK's...
We'll go back to Land Rover, actually, shall we?
You've got your burger, you've got your chips. Now, I granted the chips do go cold quickly, but I always think the burger is the bit you've paid the most for, so therefore you eat that first, because then if you feel full, you're not going to feel hard done by if you leave some chips, but you would feel hard done by if you left some burger. Riddle me this.
I think if it
doesn't finish an entire
unless it's one of those like McDonald's 4-burger Big Mac special edition.
It doesn't finish.
You're not going to not finish.
Martin, you can finish all yours.
Wow. Wow. All I'm saying is you're wrong. And
Anyway, should we get back to Land Rovers?
Yeah, okay.
I think it's time for Products of the Week. There you go. No pressure.
Thanks, Steve. You set me up beautifully for that. What we're actually going to do, I'm going to ignore you and go feature of the week.
Oh, okay. Good.
Which is this week's feature of the week, done by Gary Pusey, our classics editor, is all about barn finds, and one barn find in particular, Series 1, which has been squirreled away in... We've said this before, it's technically not a barn, it's a sort of Anderson shelter corrugated arc type thing. But anyway...
Yeah, sounds a bit empty in the advert, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Barn find is, everyone knows what that is.
This Series 1's been laid up for many, many years, and it's 40-odd years, in fact, which is quite a long slumber for any Land Rover. It's recently been extracted, and while they sort of decide what they're going to do with it, they've put it on display at Dunsfold in the exact setting that they found it in, which is quite cool. So it's a barn find, which is displayed, as you can see there. For the record, I'm showing Tom and Steve the picture of the Land Rover, displayed at Dunsfold Museum as a barn find.
It almost needs to stay like that, because that is art, in my opinion.
I wonder if that's what they'll do, actually.
Yeah,
but
there's enough restored ones. Just leave it be.
It's very, very cool.
What's going on with the bumper there? Looks like it's sticking out 6 inches too far, doesn't it?
Not sure, really. I think that's just how they are. It doesn't have the infill panel like a 2A or a 3. The starting handle's in place there, look. But yeah, they've left as much of the rare and expensive barn find dust on it as possible, and it looks really, really cool. And I still maintain, if you haven't made it to the Dunsfold Museum yet, get booked in, get some tickets, go to one of the open days. It is so good. Such a good day out.
By the time we went back, because I bet they've changed a few of the exhibits, haven't they, since we went?
They will have done, yeah. They rotate them regularly, so it's always fresh when you go. But yes, as you so kindly introduced for me, product of the week. This week's product of the week is for Defender TDCI, and it is an upgraded heater control valve. So the heater control valves on Defender TDCIs sit just by the bulkhead. They're made out of plastic. They can crack, they can leak.
Okay.
By the time you've noticed it's cracked and leaking, you've probably lost quite a lot of coolant, and that's never good for an engine. So this heavy-duty one instead is fully rebuildable and made out of aluminium. So in the unlikely event that it does start leaking, you can take it apart, change the seal, put it back together, and crack on. Fits left and right-hand drive models, universal part, and yeah, it's nicely finished in black, so it looks standard. Fit it, and off you go.
Who did you get that from?
That is made and sold by integrated316.com, and it is £255. So actually, probably not that much more expensive than a standard one.
Okay, I don't know. Never needed to buy one. I've never owned a TDCI.
Would you own a TDCI?
Yes.
They're kind of Marmite, I find. People either love them or they can't wait to work the thing out.
They are an acquired taste. I've never... The ones I've actually driven, I've enjoyed the most have actually been breathed on slightly. It takes the backlash out of first, second gear, because you can't change them nicely. When they've had a bit of a remap, they seem to pick up better, in my opinion. No, I would. I'm open to ideas at the moment. Just put it out there with my 2D5 hardtop 90. Sometimes I need more than 2 seats, and I haven't got them. And all of a sudden, you think, right, another restriction on your motoring.
So what you're saying is a Puma 110 is on the horizon?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Sounds like that's
322's on the horizon.
I'm not saying no.
Discovery 4.
It'd suit an L322 actually.
Why? Because I have a shuffle gilet on.
Yeah. You like spending money unnecessarily, so getting one of them. Anyway, no, I think a TDCI would be a good move for you. Do you not?
A TDCI one?
Get a 2.2 though, because I think they're a bit smoother and a bit nicer.
Yeah.
Even though they're
There's still
DPF.
really strong money though.
Yeah, I suppose, especially low mileage ones. Dealers are like
They're all over them.
keen on the pricing, aren't they?
Are they reliable? I've heard things.
No, yeah, you do hear things. Probably no more or less reliable than a Discovery 4 engine with the cranks snapping, are they?
No, I suppose not. In fact, last week's podcast we spoke to Chris McCormick, didn't we, about his Defender that he bought as a project, and the 2.4 was knackered anyway.
Yeah. So
Right
he
off the bat.
had a brand new crate engine in his, didn't he?
Yeah.
And the week before we spoke to Paul Myers, MD of Britpart. And, they're constantly developing parts to put right the very things that go wrong.
In fact, a couple of times I've been at Britpart, they've been preparing TDCIs to go out, creating them up and things like that. So there's obviously a market for them.
Oh, hugely.
You see quite a few of the conversion specialists now taking them out and fitting TD5s and even TDIs. TDCIs, getting rid of them completely.
I saw that on the internet the other day, actually.
Quite how they get around the emissions, I don't know, because surely putting an older engine in would be changing the EU rating potentially.
Maybe. I suppose.
Would the MOT expect to know?
Would the MOT, well, depends how legal you want to be, I suppose, because you'd have to change it on the logbook and all that stuff. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Bit of a grey area, I would think.
That's up for the owners to decide, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely a risk.
But yeah, interesting times. It's good when you see stuff like that happening though, because I think there was a long time period where there wasn't really enough. Maybe there was, and I just didn't notice. But it seemed like there wasn't really enough innovation going on. Now there's all sorts of new and exciting sort of trends developing in Land Rover, which is good to see.
So auctions then, buying Land Rovers at auction. You obviously talk about auctions quite a lot in your column.
Yeah, I spend all my time looking at auctions.
Yeah.
That's why, yeah.
And your local one's closed down, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was annoying, that, because every Tuesday and Thursday I used to log on to it, and there used to be some nice stuff, and I've had a good few cars from them, but the rent went up, and they decided it was no longer sustainable, so they went, and they nicked my 250 quid deposit, which I'm quite annoyed about. But, really? Yeah. Wow. So I'll try and get it back from my credit card company, I think, but I'm not sure how long the liability with your credit card company lasts for, because it was like 3 years they had it for. So
Okay, so it's not running.
yeah, you just have it. So to be able to bid, you just need to be able to do that. So yeah, I was a bit cross about that. But also it was, I could get a bus up there and bring a car back, which was all very nice. And they had a classic sale every quarter. So now, I'm having to spread my wings. There's British Car Auctions, which is great, but they don't on their test drives. They don't do a test drive. They just do a static test for mechanical stuff. So you can't tell whether the clutch is knackered or anything else. Whereas the other place, which was Letchworth Car Auctions, did do a sort of a 10-minute test drive, which is enough to tell you if anything was truly terrible.
So do you think that will affect the values? So the fact that you can't drive something, do you think that will affect overall values of any car?
Yeah, I think it does. I think you have to think, why is this car in an auction? And sometimes there are obvious things that somebody's had died. It's a probate car, which is what I tend to leap on. It's deceased. The old, yeah.
That punch in the air. Some poor soul like passed away. Yes, he's left a beautiful L322.
Yeah, I mean there are things like
the
the temperature setting in Fahrenheit or an Atlas. Things like that are
Packet of work this week.
Yes, exactly. There are signs like, why is this car in the auction?
Pair of driving gloves is neatly placed. Yeah.
This is a macabre conversation.
So yeah, but this is through the eyes of somebody who buys cars at auction, and you flip a few cars in there, and obviously quite a few Land Rovers. So it's interesting what you're looking for. clues.
AA badges bolted to the front, that type of thing. It just suggests that this car has been looked after by somebody who's more mature in years.
Yeah.
And that's why it's at the auction. But other ones, you think, well, this is clearly
Been around a few dealers.
or they've taken to We Buy Any Car because the last time it was serviced, they said get rid of this quick.
Yeah.
I think I've been burned like everybody in some of those. You think, oh, this is cheap, and then you realise why. You drive it out of the auction. But you kind of take that into account in your head of, okay, is this car going to need a new, I don't know, timing chain or something? If it is, it's £1,500, which would make it merely a car which is about the right price, which now has a new timing chain, so I don't have to worry about it rather than being a cheap car.
So auctions these days, I mean, are you in the room or are you online?
No, it's all online. I mean, they are coming back now.
Is that because of COVID they stopped?
They stopped and everyone went online, and the auction companies made them much better online. Also, they did these very detailed inspections and descriptions of the car, so you can get a much better idea of what you're buying. But now, especially for the more expensive stuff, people want to actually prod and poke it and see how it is.
So we're going to the auction, aren't we, on Saturday? Because by the time this is out,
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
In fact, I don't know, when this is out, we'd have been.
Might have been in the past.
Yeah, because we don't know.
Mm.
So anyway,
I might come along too. You're going to have to tell my missus that I have to go for work reasons.
Oh, that's yeah. We can send you an official email if you like.
Coffees in polystyrene cups are on us, Tom.
Yeah, I don't really. No one's stretching the budget that far. But for auctions, I mean, the buzz of going to an auction. I mean, I don't intend buying anything, so you could say I'm a bit of a tire kicker on this occasion. But what they do, auctions always sow seeds in your head and think, oh, you don't intend buying anything, and then you see something, you think, the man mass ticks over in your head, doesn't it? And go, I could sell this and buy that. And all my problems have gone.
It's quite easy to stop yourself from buying anything that you don't actually need by not getting a bidding number. But if you sign yourself up for a bidding,
oh yeah, that's with full intent.
Then it's quite difficult to not at least bid.
Yeah, I always tend to get a bidding number anyway, just because you never know. But you need to have a look at a car, and I go, this to me is worth that, and I'm going to stop there. And some people who go with me and they say, oh, I want to buy this car, and you go, okay, well, what's your limit? And they say, well, it's, I don't know, $5,000, and you go, okay. And so you bid up to $5,000, and then it goes to 5,100, and I've stopped, and they go, well, it's only another 100. I'm like, no, it's not another 100 quid. It's another, they've bid another 100.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to 5,200. And then they might do that. And then it's the fees. And then they go, okay, I said, you had your limit and stop. And they go, okay.
Is that your number one piece of advice?
Yeah, absolutely. Just
set
know
the limit and know where to don't get into auction fever.
Yeah. I mean, you see sometimes at some of these classic auctions, there was an elderly couple who were bidding on an old Ford Cortina estate. And I just looked at them and they were looking at each other and going, should we go another 100? Should we go another 100? And everybody in the room wanted them to win.
There was a time that a Ford Cortina estate was just 100.
Yeah.
That was it. You know.
And it was obviously some, I don't know, the car that they really wanted because it's what they met it or something. I don't know what it was. But in the end, they just had to kind of scurry away and some dealer got it and everyone's like, boo to the dealer. It's like they had to have their limit.
Of course, I've seen auctions. I've been at auctions where the auctioneer, they bounce bids off the wall.
Yeah.
Because there's, to get a bit of excitement. So you're actually not bidding against anybody at all. Just the wall.
It's you're now looking at the auction catalogue, aren't you, Martin? And there's we're in the 3,780 miles, that 2006 Range Rover TD6.
I reckon, right, should we have a little bet? Because obviously we're recording this ahead of auction, but by the time you're listening to this, we would have been to the auction.
Yeah.
How much do you think it's going to make?
I might let one of you two go first.
Let's have a further detail. No, so no reserve.
The worst podcast content ever, but for the record, I'm showing Tom and Steve the pictures of a 2006 Range Rover TD6 SE with a mere 3,780 miles on it.
Has it got any description yet? No, details to far. So
no
don't
description.
know that.
So on the face of it,
is it blue or is it black?
I think it's dark blue.
Yeah.
It's a TD6, not a TD V8.
So if anybody who wants to look at this post-event probably could, but by going on...
It's Anglia Car Auctions.co.uk, and it's the November the 2nd and 3rd classic auction.
So the results they'll post the results on the page. Anyone listening to this can have a look, can't they?
The number that springs to mind, bear in mind, you've got to really want it though, haven't you? I think 12 grand.
Ah, yeah, I was going to say, well, I was going to be quite broad and say 12 to 15, actually.
I think more. I think 18 and a half.
Do you really?
Wow.
I think somebody's going to want that.
Wow.
Okay. I'm going to be...
Presuming the details don't follow it, it says this was owned by Jimmy Savile or something. So,
it's being sold with no reserve, so it's anyone's guess.
yeah.
I've just found that Holland and
I'm going
Holland.
to say 15.
Out.
Yeah.
15. Okay, I'm going to
12,
stick
15 and 18.
Yeah.
This Holland and Holland's rather nice.
It's lovely.
Still details to follow, but 10 to 12, that's the estimate, 10 to 12,000. They are gorgeous. But also, if you want a slightly more affordable P38 limited edition, a Bordeaux is a fine choice.
It's a 4 litre,
time?
which is a much nicer engine.
Do you think?
Yeah. I think it's a much sweeter engine and less likely to...
They don't go porous as
detonate.
bad.
Yeah.
The Bordeaux is a lovely metallic red, cream leather with red piping and red carpets. Which
Clear glass. Looks very shiny as well, doesn't it?
it does look rather tasty, doesn't it? A 51 plate.
Yeah.
Has that got
That's a
a...
bit of you, that, Martin.
No, I can't buy anything else. What's the estimate? 3,750 to 4,750.
Yeah, that's all right, isn't it?
So if that's as clean as it looks in the pictures, that's probably a good buy.
5.5.
Yeah, you're probably about, maybe even 6.
5.5 to 6, yeah.
Last time I was at this auction, it was a very nice 80-odd thousand mile gold, what was it? What do they call it? White gold? No. I
Yeah, I
can't
call
remember
it
the name
like
of the colour.
champagne.
It's like a champagne-y gold colour. P38 that was
Although I don't know what champagne looks like.
there's a Cat D or something. That made very strong money. That went for 4 or 5,000, so that could well do more.
I think P38s, they went up quite a lot last year and they've softened a little bit, I'd say.
That's because classic range and prices have softened as well. So everything's following a trend.
Next, I would like to draw your attention to the maddest thing I've ever seen, which is a 1996 Land Rover, which is probably a discovery, with a Volkswagen Beetle body shell grafted on the top.
It's an obvious conversion.
This says estimate 4 to 6. I think you would probably want your head looking at if you paid that for this vehicle. It's got a galvanised chassis though.
Oh, wow, there you go. So the top half will rot and the bottom half won't.
I suppose it's somebody having for a bit of a laugh or use it for advertising or something, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. It looks... Yeah. It might be a 90 chassis, actually. The wheelbase looks about 90. But it's got a snorkel on it. It's bright blue. It's a very odd-looking creation. But someone's obviously done it, and fair play to him. But
Do you think they just had a Beetle and a rotten 90 lying around? I mean,
Do you know, years ago, there was talking about Jeremy Clarkson again, he did one, didn't he, on an MGB Roadster, put it on a Range Rover chassis. And then I've also seen in the classifieds Ford Capri on a Range Rover chassis.
there's quite a few about.
I can imagine you'd have the two rotters together and go, oh, that's a really silly idea. I'm 6 pints in, I've got a silly idea.
I've got tons of welding wire.
On Sunday, you just get set to, and then that's what you create.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah.
Moving away from the Beetle, there's a very nice couple of nice Series 2As, one nicer than the other actually.
Yeah.
3 Series 2As. 1998 Defender 90, 6 to 8. I thought maybe a little bit. Let's have a look. 180,000, quite leggy, isn't it? But I don't know. And a very, very nice 109 Series 3
Recovery.
Recovery.
That's lovely, isn't it?
That's really, really cool, isn't it?
If you've got stuff to recover, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Once the employee of a now gone garage in Stamford, so just up the road from us. You might know it, Steve. You might have been towed in by it at some point in Disco 3.
Never.
But yeah,
I
that's
never
really
needed
cool.
to be towed in my Discovery 3.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to go to that auction, and we will see what happens, and if we can persuade Tom to come along, then all the better for it.
No, we don't need to. Just email you.
Just email me.
Say, I've been summoned to the Land Rover Monthly meet at this auction. They don't need to even say auction, do you? Just say
Sale. So, meeting. Yeah.
meeting.
Official day out.
Yeah.
Yeah. jolly boys outing. And then we'll have to convince Tom to spend some money.
Well, we're going to persuade you to spend some money. It's going to be
I haven't got any left.
peer pressure challenge.
No.
But well, you will do if you sell your 90. You'll have all the money in the world to spend.
I'm in two minds.
Just put it in the auction, Steve. We've spoken about buying cars at auction. What about selling them, Tom?
Well, I suppose that I'm terrible at selling cars because I just find it such a ball ache that, everybody, is it still available and all that sort of thing.
We
It's
talked
not
about the
turning up.
marketplace of the day, didn't we?
Oh.
Horrendous.
And even eBay, it's just, I didn't realise I had to collect it. Can you deliver to Birmingham? No.
Yeah.
It's a car. What do you want me to do? Put stamps on it and post it to you? And so you have to go through it all again. Yeah. So I'm terrible at it. So I can see the attraction of doing these We Buy Any Cars thing, or just putting it in an auction yourself. I mean, Anglia Car Auctions, I sold my dad's 2A there, and it went for just about what we found acceptable. But it was less hassle than having people come around and kicking your tyres.
We did a Facebook Live from the auction in the NEC, didn't we, at the beginning of the year, the restoration show.
Yeah.
And there was loads of Land Rovers and Range Rovers, but the Range Rover projects weren't making anywhere near the money that they thought they were going to make.
That was a case of them being just too many to choose from. If you'd had 2 or 3...
Yeah. They flooded the market with project lots of Range Rovers, didn't they? With doors and hanging off.
Some that were really standout ones, like Monteverde's, and there was some really, really sort of eye-opening special stuff. But the rest of them were just sort of quite rusty 4-doors and things like that. And you go, well, if you're going to... They're all sort of a muchness. I don't think there was enough to sort of differentiate them.
I suppose where auctions really work is like with that 3,800 mile 322. How do you value it? You can't. So you need to put it in an auction to find out, because there's nothing to compare it to. It's not like you go on Glass's Guide or, in Parker's or something and go, oh, well, it's got this many miles and therefore it's worth this, like you can on a 3-year-old car. That's a 20-year-old car with 3,000 miles on it. You can't value it.
But be prepared to set reserves, they can't.
Yeah, you can.
But you've got to be realistic with the reserve. Because most sellers think their car is worth more than it is, and most buyers think it's worth less.
I think there are some surprises, though, aren't there, where people have, right, well, this is my reserve, and it goes past that, and you see it on the online auction sometimes, on like Car and Classic and things, where you just go, oh, that did well, and the owners go, oh, blimey, that was much more than I was expecting, for something which is a bit rare or a bit different or has low miles.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what that L322 makes. I don't know if it's still on the market, but there was a very, very low mileage Freelander 1 for sale on one of the classic car sites. It wasn't an auction.
Oh, right, old one, was it?
No, I don't think so. No, yours was lovely, wasn't it? You sort of rescued that in a way, didn't you?
Yeah, so it's gone deceased back, literally, but it's now gone back home. So, do you remember the story? It was it had 20,000 miles, and somebody read about it in the mag, and they were because it was an ex-demo car, so it spent its first 6 months being a demo at a Land Rover dealer, and then the guy who was the salesman, whose car it was, bought it back, so he now has it back in its own life.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I found that one. It is still for sale, but I can't find the price. But that one's done 19,000, so about the same as yours. Yeah. Oh no, it has sold. I beg your pardon, it's sold. But yeah, not the same as yours, is it? It's similar.
It's similar. Yeah.
XEDR, I think. But yeah, it is interesting. I'm really excited to see what L322 does, because when did you last see one? I'd love to know its story, actually. Like, why is it such low mileage?
Let's keep an eye on the website when they upload the details, because they no doubt will.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I had a question on the tip of my tongue and I've forgotten it now, which is...
Does it involve sandwiches in the order in which you eat your crisps?
No, I've already asked. I've put that question out to the wider audience, so I look forward to everyone.
I think the majority of people will understand where me and Tom are coming from.
Maybe I'll put it on Instagram as a poll and people can vote.
You're just going to, when the emails come in saying that we are right, you're just going to quietly delete them.
I'm not. I'm an honest man.
No, be honest.
Can you have a word with IT and just make sure? Anything with the name of McDonald's order and
McDonald's or meal deal, sandwich, crisp combos. We need to know the answers. That's more important.
We could do some investigative journalism, go around the auction when we all go there and answer people, and then we can tick it off sandwich first, or like a normal person, or crisps first, like an absolute nutter. It's up to you.
You can do that if you like.
Yeah, I might.
You're going to sit in the McDonald's doing a survey.
Yeah, I could do,
Yeah.
couldn't I? Like, just look at people weirdly. Like,
It's the thing I had to do when I was a student.
Martin doesn't need an excuse for another Big Mac.
like, Steve, my sides are split. Right, on that note, I think I'm cool. I've had enough of this. Let's come back next week. Yeah, very good. But thanks, as always, to Adrian Flux for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you for listening. Any questions or feedback, editorial at lrm.co.uk. If you could leave us a little rating as well on your preferred streaming platform, that would be fantastic. Don't forget to like and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. and etc. That'd be great.
You're such an influencer. Anyway, bye for now.
Bye.
Bob.